And we're live. What's going on, team? Hope everyone is having a good day. It is Thursday, August 22nd. The Masters CrossFit Games have just been released, and we're going to talk about it. So, a couple things. Man, what a week, huh? It's just been just another emotionally strenuous week, I think, on the CrossFit program. I can't hear myself. Guys, how do I sound? Or Slater, how do I sound? Let me know. I sound okay here. But I can't really hear myself. Okay. Brings the views. That's right. My man. All right, cool. Let me know if you guys hear any kickback. I'm trying to learn how to use my new little switchboard here, and I have no fucking idea how to use it. So, volume is low. Okay. All right. Let me know. Cool. Great. All right. So, Masters CrossFit Games. So, I just want to go over like a couple top line things first before we dig into what it is and what the workouts are. So, interestingly enough, there's 10 workouts. You sound expensive. You're fucking right now. It wasn't that expensive. It was like it was that or the Pro. I was going to get I just want to do call-ins, right? My goal is to have this ready to take a call-in tomorrow morning on my live, but we'll see how that goes down. I don't think it's going to be possible. It's hard to work when you have kids. So, put the mic in your mouth. Yes. So Slater, put the mic in your mouth. So just right. There we go. All right. We'll keep it PG for the rest of the time. I want to have a live show, or I want to have a live call-in for tomorrow morning, but we'll see if I can figure this thing out. It took me 3 days to figure out how to even go live with it and not have feedback. So we're not doing super hot. So what we're going to do here is we'll just break it down pretty simple. And we'll go over kind of like the totality of the events, the time frames that we're looking at, and then break them down event by event, right? And see if there's general balance, see how we feel about it. What I'll do, because of where we are, where WODprep is in the space, is we're going to break down some of the older adjustments as well, and see if they fit, okay? Which I think is cool. You can take my comment down now. No, I just think we can keep it up. Thanks for reminding me. All right. So let's share. All right, we're gonna try. I have every fucking device that I own just going crazy right now. I don't know why. There we go. Do not disturb. Cool. Okay, so we have 10 events, and we have a time range of 18 minutes for our longest, I believe, and 2 minutes for our shortest, which is really interesting. We have multiple events under a few minutes, which is pretty wild. Not this one. 1, 2, 3. Did something change? 3 minutes. Here it is. All right. So we have 10 events for the age groups of 35 to 54. And then 55 to 55 plus is not doing the standard, which is event 7. And which one are they not doing? I have my heat schedule. They're not doing event 3, so this one, and then event 7. Okay, and so everyone else is, and I thought that was a pretty interesting play, but I think it's the right play. No Chad. Yes, no Chad. So a couple things on choosing which ones to not do. I think from a balance perspective, the standard is a really hard event to pull down, right? For the older age groups. I do probably wish there was gymnast or ring muscle ups in the older age groups, but I haven't really like taken a look at this yet. This is like a very raw assessment. So anyone watching, just bear with me. I'd love everyone's feedback as well. And so this is the biggest thing here that we see is pretty much a semifinal feel. Okay. So there's 3 floors. All right. And they're going to be running heats basically from 6 a.m. to like 8 p.m. every night or 6 p.m. every night. It's insane. But there's 460 athletes, I believe. Let's see. I think I did this. I think I did these numbers right. So we have 80, 160, 240, 300, 360. Yeah. There's 460 athletes, which is more than have ever been at the CrossFit Games, ever, by a landslide. Maybe including team, but you don't count those because they're heats, right? So they're going to manage 460 lanes for every event, right? That's so many people to run through. So they've created 3 floors of play or 3 fields of play, right? And they run pretty much from sunup to sundown all day, every day. I'm pretty unsure where they're going to do this team event. They said they have a team event somewhere. They have a lot of people coming in for the community team thing, and I'm assuming it's just going to be at another part of the venue. So it's a big convention center in Birmingham. So we have 1, 2. I guess the 1 RM doesn't really count, but theoretically it does. So we have 3 events under 5 minutes, right? We have an 18-minute, a 15-minute, a 12-minute, like a work rest. So this is 9 minutes of work with some rest, so 11 minutes. So I think the balance is good, but the one thing that we don't see is anything very, very long. And we don't see that because of how many athletes there are. So I think they've done a good job with trying to find the general balance with it, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 events, 12 plus, 3 events under 5, and then 2 events, 3 events in between, 6 and 12, 6 and 11. So the balance is there, right? This will probably be our longest event. I think a lot of people will get capped here, but overall, it looks pretty balanced just from a time domain perspective. Not too short, not too long, and they look overall really fun, right? But I think our biggest theme from the start is it's just real CrossFit, right? These are things that we write in training all the time, right? These are just kind of like, they feel very old school CrossFit, right? I think the common theme that a lot of people are asking was, did Boz have a hand in writing these? And maybe, right? But this is consistent with the theme that we've seen leading up to this point, in my opinion. Okay. All right. Let's dig into it. So event 1. And so what we'll do is when I go to event 1, we will, we'll pull up the older age groups too, and just take a quick glance at the adjustments and see how we feel about them. Remove. Share screen. We'll go back to this. Okay. All right. And present. Stop screen. Anyways. All right. We'll go back and forth. All right. So event 1, 4 rounds, 600-meter run, 5 deadlifts, 10 deadlifts, 15 deadlifts, 20 deadlifts. So run, deadlift, run, deadlift, run, deadlift. And it's funny. We talked about the PFAA and their questioning of, what is safe and what is not. And the example I used yesterday was, are they going to veto a run deadlift? Ironically, there's a run deadlift. Very heavy. So we'll just kind of talk it through. I don't think I can like bounce back and forth between the screens, which is kind of annoying. At least if I can't figure it out. All right. So 600-meter run, 5 deadlifts at 255, 180. 600-meter run, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so run then deadlift, which is a very challenging pairing. A lot of posterior chain fatigue, a lot of endurance here. 2,400 meters of running is a mile and a half, so definitely not anything super short. And I don't think the deadlift is weighted enough to be the crux of the workout. So they purposely made the load a little bit lighter for athletes to really stay unbroken and prioritize the run. Any heavier, I mean, 275 probably would have been fine, but for the most part, any heavier athletes are going to start breaking and they're going to start having to pace the runs, right? So it looks like they use the feel from semifinal workout 1, right? And they chose a weight that allows the athletes to stay unbroken, but it's going to create enough fatigue on that run so that they are feeling the hurt, right? If you guys have ever done moderate to heavy deadlifts, high volume, so this is what, 50 deadlifts at 255, right? And so it's 255 through 45, 45 to 55 is 245 to 165, and 225, 155, 60 to 64 is 135, 95, and 65 is 115. And then 55, 60, and 65 run a little bit less, which is pretty interesting. I wonder how they're going to adjust the course on that specifically. I guess just turn around a little quicker. But I think it's a good workout. Okay. A mile and a half plus 50 deadlifts. Definitely, it's probably not taking 18 minutes. But they designed it for sure so that people are pushing the run, and that's kind of our aerobic tester. 100%. I think that's a really good workout. It's nice and long. And I think they're very limited on what they're allowed or what they're capable of doing from a time perspective, right? When you're running 460 athletes, even on 3 fields of play, there's just only so much that you can do. They're not going to take these masters outside. Okay. Clearly, obviously they're not swimming. And so the run does go outside, but it's the only event that goes outside, but they still work into the arena, right? So Birmingham in the middle of summer is hot as shit. I know everyone's heard the word hot and heat in Texas and blah, blah, blah. It's rough. And if the individuals weren't outside, but for a swim run and a night event, then the masters won't be either. Okay. So with that being the limiter, then they can only do so much on the fields of play when they're trying to run so many people through it. All right. So good event. I like it. I think it's well balanced. I love the ascending. This is a very Legends-esque. If you guys don't know Legends, they're very ascending ladder. Love. That's what they like to do. All right. Event 2. No. So let me see if I'll find a way to pull this up. I feel like I can. Slides. Nope. I'm going to remove this for a second. Let me see. Oh, no, not that. That would be bad. I guess I can't share more than one screen. Present. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. So the age groups adjust. So 35 to 45 is, can you guys see that? 35 to 45 is the same as written, 600, 255, 180, 45 and 45 to 54, still a 600 meter run, 245 to 165, 55, 155, 225 with a little bit shorter of a run. And then 60 and 65 are a 400 meter run with a little bit lighter loads. This is weird. I don't even understand. I guess they don't like the 185, 125. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? 135, 195? That just makes me kind of cringe. I've never done that actually, but it's probably the right adjustment, right? 30 pounds, 20 pounds. But then now it's only 20 pounds, 20 pounds. I don't know. We never really know what the right approach is. I feel like I've seen 115, 165 more. Who knows? I don't know. But the workouts so far are really good. I do like them. All right, present, share screen. Back to workout 2. All right. Okay. Workout 2, 4 rounds for time, 4 rope climbs, 6 sandbag cleans, and a 40-foot handstand walk. I think this is a really, I think this is a good workout. 16 rope climbs is no joke, right? The sandbag cleans are probably kind of just like a walk in the park at this point for most people at the weights, especially at the older age groups. Legends does, and the CrossFit Games did this too. I think they dropped the sandbag too much, but we'll get to that point here in a second when we, maybe I'll just like, boom, and then just like throw it down here. Yeah, there we go. I'll just kind of pull it away. So 4 rounds for time, 4 rope climbs, 15-foot handstand, 15-foot, 6 sandbag cleans at 150, 100, and a 40-foot handstand walk. 3-minute time cap. I don't know, or a 12-minute time cap, so 3 minutes around. I feel like that's pretty accurate. 40 feet is probably like a 20-foot out and back, I would guess, based on the way that the floor is set up. So the one thing I heard was that, so the heats are 20 people. Okay. So the heats are huge. And then I heard that it's either 10 lanes on each side, right? So like basically they move to the center and then they come back, right? Or they start in the center and then they go out, but it's 10 lanes on each side and 20 people are going to run in a heat. So they're going to do basically a half of heats for 40, 35, 40, and 45. And then there's 30 athletes, male, female, for 50 and 55, 20 for 60 and 65, and 10 for 70. But 70 doesn't really, 70 is not, I don't think, technically part of it. Yeah, so we'll get to this CrossFit. So they are, they do have 2 less workouts, which I think is probably moderately appropriate, and less volume, which again I think is generally appropriate. But we'll get to those when they come up. But we're not there yet. So all right, so we'll kind of move our way down here. Zoom in just a bit. This is the general workout. Event 2, again, rope climb, sandbag cleans, handstand walk. So same for 45 to 35 to 45, which I think is very appropriate. 50 to 54 gets a 175, 1 less rope climb. I think this fits pretty nicely as far as we're trying to make it in the same time cap. This is where I don't like it, and this is where we're going to see a lot of probably not my favorite adjustments, but 50, 100, this is 100% because of an equipment limitation. The normal is 170, and that would make sense. Keep it 6, keep rope climbs 3, adjust the handstand walk for 55. Same thing for 60 to 64. They need to be handstand walking. This should be 10 feet, and this should still be 170. Maybe 65 doesn't handstand walk. You know, but for the most part, man, maybe even 5 feet, like just do one length, right? Like show the skill. At this point, it's just capacity. Now 65 is only going to 12 feet. I don't like this full adjustment. Most of the games, we're getting to the point now in our CrossFit lineage that 65 athletes can handstand walk at least 5 feet, right? It might be hard, but 1 5-foot length for 4 rounds is probably not unexpected in the top 20, in my opinion. So I think they could have done like 10 feet and then 5 feet here. And then this should be 170, 100%. 50 pounds is a joke. That's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It becomes of just a just kind of like a transition piece. So not my favorite. I love the workout. I don't like the adjustments for the older age groups here specifically. All right. But overall, 12 minutes, people will finish much faster than that. I do think it's a great test. 35 maybe should have had like an obstacle, or maybe like a 60-foot down, back, down, something like that. But overall, it's, these are sprint, these are hard efforts at this point, a lot of pure CrossFit. So, all right, event 3. So 4 time, 25 overhead squats, 80 dumbbell walking lunges, 25 overhead squats. Very light, very fast, and a 3-minute time cap. That's wild. A 3-minute time cap for 50. If you just count 5 feet as a rep, 50. And then what is that? 16 for 46 for 66 reps. That's going to be really, really fast. But that's a really narrow time cap. It's a very light barbell, 75, 55. And yeah, this is one that wasn't in. So if we go to, I'm going to do my best to try and keep this clean. All right. So 4-time, 25, 80, 25, 55 to 65 doesn't do this. I feel like they could have done it. I don't think this is a very challenging piece. I know why they didn't do it, because the overhead squat is always such a crux and such a pain in the ass to judge for older athletes and blah, 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 blah. I think they could have done it. It's a 3-minute workout. They probably didn't need to take this workout out. I do agree with them taking out event 7 like they did, which is the standard, which is my favorite CrossFit workout ever, that I've never done. But for the most part, I do believe that they could have kept this workout in. But either way, let's talk about it. 25 overhead squats. I think they're going to run into a lot of standard and judging issues on this, but I love the workout. I love the intensity of it. It's going to hurt. It's a quad explosion. Probably not a grip explosion, 80 feet. So assuming we have a 20-foot floor length at this point, right? So 20 feet down, back, down and back, right? So that's 80 feet. They're going to get back to the overhead squats. 80 feet's a pretty long distance. It's hard to go because you have to turn around, most likely have to turn around 3 times, right? I can't imagine they're 40-foot lanes. And so to turn around 3 times to get there, that's a really tight time cap, but I think they're going to smash it. I think there's going to be a copious amount of no reps. Like a thruster probably would have worked maybe a smidge better here for like, but I don't think we had thrusters anywhere else either. We had a dumbbell thruster. That's probably why they didn't do it. They could have done a dumbbell snatch here too, like a heavy dumbbell snatch. Yeah, I think it's a good one. Not my favorite event, but still intense, fast. So 3 workouts in, we've had a 3-minute, a 12-minute, and an 18-minute. So we're very well balanced. This is all of day 1. Events 1, 2, and 3 are on day 1. I think day 1 looks very balanced. It's not heavy one way. We have an aerobic piece. We have like a grip endurance. That's what we're going to feel here. We're going to feel people really start to fail these rope climbs from the sandbag cleans and being upside down, a lot of delt posterior, like upper back fatigue. And then this is just a quad and knee flexion challenge here, right? Who can move the fastest and stay on it the longest? All right. Okay. So that's day 1. I like it. Let me hear what you guys think. We can talk about it. Anyone, you can ask any questions. Oh, this is a question. Who programs these? Maybe they need to do the regular games. You know, these definitely look very fun. For sure. I definitely don't think that, yeah, I don't want to go into comparing this to the regular games. Let's just kind of keep it on here. But if you guys have any questions or any comments, I want to answer all of them. All right. So event 4, snatch speed ladder. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2-minute time cap. And it is narrow. Okay, 2-minute time cap. Not a lot of reps. They're going to touch and go this whole thing. And it really is a true snatch speed ladder. This is kind of like a round 1 of, this is more or less a round 1 of what we would see at the CrossFit Games. Okay. I think this might be a little light in my opinion. It's really just a race. They're going to touch and go all the reps, even to the older age groups. And so I know that's the goal, but it just feels a little light. Like they're not quite rewarding the strongest of the strong, right? It's just speed of squat at this point, right? And that might not be the strongest athlete. So the strongest athlete might not win this, okay? Just because they don't cycle through 135, the fastest in their squat speed is maybe a little slower. Yeah, it has a very, so I heard it, CrossFit said, I heard it's Bob and crew with input from CrossFit. That's what I heard too. And they did a really good job. I definitely have had my qualms and my problems with Legends programming in the past and the way they run things. And so, but this looks really good so far. I agree. Okay. So back to it. I just think it's a little light personally. I think the drop off for 65 and 69, but if we're looking at how it compares to maxes from a age group perspective, it is very balanced. They made an adjustment on every age group. So which I really, really like. No, it does not specify a squat. So I'm going to guess it's not, because it does specify a squat on something else. There's like this, there's like a heavy single clean somewhere. Maybe it did on Instagram. Let me see real quick. Let's see. I feel like it might have. I thought I saw it. Snatch speed ladder. I feel like maybe someone asked. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't think so. Which is fast. All right. So it didn't, sorry, Vicky asked, did it specify squat? It didn't. Corbin, excluding 55 plus versus scaling. I choose scaling. So they do scale on every workout, but 10 workouts in 4 days, guys, is a fuckload of volume. Okay. And so it's a lot for 55s, in my opinion. They've never had that many in a competition. They've never had that many at the games. And so I'm going to guess that's why they've never had 10 at the games for masters. It's always 7 to 9, maybe like in 14, 15 or 16, they might've in Carson, but they usually never have this many scores. And so I'm guessing that's why they do it. And so there's an intended stimulus with every workout. Okay. And so if the goal is to maintain a similar stimulus, then the volume and the intensity, the scales have to be drastic. Okay. Asymmetric gears as a 55 plus, this does not scare me in the least, which is good. I don't think it should scare you, right? I also think that the intended goal of the CrossFit games for masters athletes probably should be a little different than the intended goal of the CrossFit games for professional athletes, right? They're not trying to break you. There's also limitations inside of the arena. Larry Young, so glad you said it was light. And so I think with what their remarkable amount of limitations are, I think this fits really well. CrossFit seems light and short, and they drop the weights as they drop gymnastics volume, right? That's what they should do. They should do that across the board. This is what the open should look like, guys, right? Maybe not every age group, right? So for this one, right? This probably doesn't need to be the case, but if the goal is the exact same time frames as far as people getting across the finish line, then this is what it should look like. The 55 plus scaling is stupid. It's been dumb since day one, right? It doesn't make any fucking sense for a 54-year-old to do the same workout as, in 2013 as Sam Briggs. It just didn't. It never did then, and it doesn't now. And so they should talk to Legends about making adjustments for every age group leading down. Now, I'm not saying that 55s need to be less than what they are. I think they're overscaled sometimes. I don't think a 55-year-old needs to sling around a 20-pound dumbbell. I think the female should swing a 25-pound dumbbell. I think it's too light. But for the most part, if we're talking about a lift or a ladder or like quarterfinals, semifinals, where the patient part, the athlete population is smaller, then there needs to be more adjustments if we're trying to elicit the same stimulus. And that's just, in general, the way it is. Because when you leave, like, say you don't adjust this for 50 to 54. There's like 3 54-year-old females that can snatch 155. Maybe. I coached one of them for a long time, and she could never snatch 155. And she was one of the strongest in the age group from 50 through 54. There might be one, maybe two. And I bet that person does shit at the CrossFit Games too, because there's no way she's balanced. So I love the adjustments. I love the progression. Yeah, Grunler's another world, right? He purely doesn't compete because he thinks it's too easy. That's a whole different world. All right. But he would still, I don't know. I don't know about his stats, but I mean, I don't think he's snatching 225. So anyways, I think the progression is good. I think it looks nice. Sometimes it's overdone and other times it's not, but it's really hard to get it right all the way. Right. So if we're going back to, like what is right, like the sandbag clean being 150. So like being like 100 for men and 50 for women, that's too much. I think that's pointless. And they did that from an equipment limitation. Like whoever they have equipment sponsoring, right, only has 50-pound bags, because a 70-pound bag doesn't, like, it's fine for everyone, even the 65s. Like you could just do 4 sandbag cleans there, right? So that's my opinion on that. I think the snatch ladder is done well. I think overall it is very light, but with a 2-minute time cap and 10 reps, that's still pretty challenging, right? And so they're just testing like speed and power. That's it. They're not testing power endurance, and they're not testing max strength with this. And that's okay if that's their intended stimulus. If their intended stimulus was to test max strength, they missed for sure. No doubt. Okay. Larry Young, 3.5 years away, but I'm going to fight to keep my strength. I've seen your Instagram, buddy. You're fine. I've coached a lot of 55s. You're good to go. But when you want that coaching, you don't trust your son to do it, call me. I'm better at it. All right. Okay. Okay. Event 5. All right. 75 wall balls, 40 shoulder to overhead, 30 dumbbell step overs, 40 snatches, and 75 wall balls. Let's see. This is an interesting one to see how much they are going to adjust it. All right. So let's talk about it as written. 2014, a 115 barbell, 115 and 80, and then a 50, 35. Okay. And step overs. So, we have Karen mixed in with 80 dumbbell snatches, which is just kind of a transition point there, but, or I'm sorry, 40 dumbbell snatches, 40 shoulder to overhead. After 75 wall balls, that 40 shoulder to overhead is going to be spicy. That's not going to be a very easy 40 shoulder to overhead, even so light. I don't think we see anyone stay unbroken on that barbell. Grip is going to be really fatigued. The shoulders are going to be very fatigued at that point. This is a very traditional, like down and back sort of chipper. I kind of wish they would have kept the shoulder to overhead. I think the dumbbell snatch is probably, I don't know. Let's see the balance between the week. Do we have a lot of shoulder to overhead? We have jerks, bike, double under, chest to bar, muscle ups, toes to bar. I don't know. Maybe the jerks here. Maybe that's why they changed it. I think it would have looked a little nicer with 40 shoulder to overhead at this point. I think that would have been a better, just a better overall workout. Personally, at least it would have been more challenging, right? I think the dumbbell snatch maybe is written there so that they are pushing the wall ball, because 40 shoulder to overhead there is going to really stunt their ability to push that wall ball deep, right? Because it's basically a very identical pattern. So 75 wall balls, 40 shoulder to overhead. I mean, I think they're gonna push through this really hard. I think the shoulders are going to be completely smoked. That dumbbell is going to be pretty hard to hang on to. So dumbbell step overs into a dumbbell snatch. I think there's going to be a grip component here that maybe people aren't really assessing, and the shoulders are just going to be waxed, right? The legs are going to be fine. The dumbbell step overs from a leg perspective aren't too bad. 30 isn't that many. At 50, 35, they've done 70, 50 at Legends before, which is absolutely terrible. And it's step overs, not step ups. So it's probably more how long can you hang on to the dumbbell, more so than how strong or how enduring your legs are. But I like it. I think it's a really good, I think it's a good workout. I think we're 5 for 5 across the board, as far as what's written. So we have 15 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 12, and 18. So we're pretty well balanced for the short. We just kind of have long and short. I think we hit an 8-minute workout, I think the next day, or later in this day. This is 4 and 5. This is all on Friday. Whoops, where did we go here? Oh, here we go. All right. So same for 35 and 45. Now we're kind of getting like nitpicky, right? Like, why would we change this? Also, isn't it 115.75? Again, this is like getting nitpicky, but it's consistent across the board. It's moving its way down, which I'm totally fine with. This might be a smidge light. It's always hard to be progressive from 35 to 65. These athletes are so different. I'm on the board, and I don't know how you guys feel, but I think the dumbbell for the scale from 50 to 35 should be 35-25. I don't think it should be to 20, right? I just don't. I've never thought that. I think it's dumb. I think it's way too much. Personally, it's like 40% a difference, right? So even more. I think it's like 60% of the load, and this is 70%. It's way, and in my opinion, it's just way too low. 25, I think, would fit much nicer, which is why we make everyone at WODprep do 25 throughout the year, just because I feel like it's going to change at some point. So the the barbell gets a little bit lighter. The step ups are the same, just with the lighter dumbbell, and the dumbbell snatch is the same. I don't like this personally, the 10 and 14, but for Karen, I think it fits really well. I would probably have rather seen maybe less wall balls with the same weights, 14 and 20. It's like in 50 and 50 maybe, but this does keep the workouts identical. So that's for sure why they did it there. And that does balance out the stimulus. So, Karen at 10 pounds for a 65-year-old female is still a really challenging workout, right? And then again, we also have to consider that CrossFit and training and even the goal of competition is just different for a 55, a 60, and a 65-year-old athlete. Rhetorical question. Why is top end strength weighed less as you get older? Seems biased, but then again, I'm one of those stronger old people. I don't think it's weighed less. I think that they're trying to be linear in their adjustments, and then it just comes out that way. But if we do look at health overall, health leans into cardiovascular fitness from a longevity standpoint. And so like top end strength just doesn't benefit the older individual human in general as much as cardiovascular fitness does. And there's for sure a safety component that comes into play, right? Of just like managing fatigue, the risk of injury is just innately higher when you are older. And so they want to try and keep workouts as similar as possible, right? Without increasing the risk of injury. Those would be my guesses. And then we understand, like science, repeated studies have told us that we have, this 2.5 percent decrease per, 5 years or decade or whatever it is, or 5%. Who's Gabriel Lyons? With strength, right? In just natural, but we don't have that same fall off with aerobic capacity. Not according to Gabriel Lyons. Larry, you got to message me, cj@wodprep.com. I'd love to read about it. Okay. All right. So workout 5. What do we think what do we think we're going to get here? I think the 35 is going broken here. Maybe someone goes unbroken on this. I think they split it. I think they probably get close to unbroken on this. So 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, probably another 90 seconds. So we're at 5, 2 minutes here. Maybe just a little bit longer, 7. This takes a minute and a half. This is unbroken for most people at this point. And this probably is closer to like the 3-minute range with a rest. 11 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe Snatch speed ladder. I don't think anyone does sub 1, but I think most people finish this in the time cap of all the events. This one's tough. Larry, yes, learning on YouTube has been always my forte outside of my 9 years of schooling. 25 overhead squats, 80-foot walking lunge. This one's going to be tough to finish, right? Especially if they're starting to get no reps, only a 3-minute time cap. I think everyone's, it depending on how strict they are on the judging and the squat. Um, and I don't know. This one's going to be tough. I think a lot of people might, if they are over exaggerating hip extension at the top, I think it's going to be tough for them to finish. 4 rounds for time, a minute and change, 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. I think this one ends up actually being pretty fast. 10 rounds or 4 rounds for time. I think sub 10, 2.5 minutes a round, maybe even 2 minutes a round. No, not 2 minutes. Probably. I think sub 10 is probably a top time. 600s, just assuming everyone's running an 8-minute mile, maybe a little bit faster, right? So it's 12 minutes of running. Deadlifts are unbroken for most people at 50 seconds, just assume there. So 13 minutes, maybe even faster. Probably sub 12 is probably the fastest time at that point. What are we talking about here? So Lions is the muscle or you die, doc. I agree, but that is a very huge range, and there is a bell curve on that. The more muscle you have isn't there's like a minimum effective dose, right? Which is why strongmen don't live that long and powerlifters don't live that long, right? Barring any type of steroid use, right, or testosterone use, someone who is balanced with cardiovascular fitness and muscle is going to live the longest, right? Our oldest people on planet Earth don't lift any weights, right? So let's just be clear. But I'm not saying strength isn't important, but there is a point where if you prioritize strength too much, you are deprioritizing cardiovascular fitness and aerobic health or heart health, and that is not ideal. So, no problem getting people on a handstand walk, but don't ask people to snatch 185. I'm not sure where is that for the ladder. Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure. They dropped the handstand walk. They only dropped that on 60 to 64, which again, I said I don't think they should. I think that's not fair for the athletes at this point. I think we're past that point. There was a time in 17, 18, and 19 where it was a shit show and no one could handstand walk, but I think we're well past that. All right, we're getting way too long. Let's move on. Not what she says. Roids do kill for sure. I didn't say they didn't. I think we're on the different pages here. Okay. All right. So event 6, I love work rest. This one I've already had an athlete do this, and this is really tough. This is a very creative workout. I love it. I love the density of kind of like what it's creating to be. So 4 minutes of work, 1 minute of rest, 3 minutes of work, 1 minute of rest, 2 minutes of work. Okay. For completion, 105 calories on the Echo bike, 105 and 80. You do 75 double unders, 20 chest to bars. For most athletes, this is going to take about a minute and 10, a minute and 15 seconds. Okay. And then they're going to be on the bike for the rest of the time. That's not a lot of time to finish this work. I think most people get capped 105, 2 minutes. We'll just say they're on there for 3 minutes. They get 65. No, I guess not. I guess they're going to finish. But 1 minute of rest is not a lot of rest, right? So they can't full send this. But I think it is very well designed to test power endurance. I think the amount of gymnastics in it aren't enough to be the gymnastics crux, Okay. Everyone's going to get to the bike every time with a decent amount of time, but it does test your gymnastics endurance and repeatability. And then it tests your power endurance on the machine, which I love. I think it's great. So I think they're going to get about 3 minutes of work here, about 2 minutes of work here. And then maybe they get a minute of work here, but they're going to be really struggling. It's going to be hard to get back on these double unders and go unbroken on these chest to bars at the end. So gymnastics wise, I think we're doing, okay, we have 16 rope climbs, which is a decent chunk. And at this point we have 60 chest to bar. So we're pretty low on gymnastics. We have a handstand walk, and we have 160 foot of handstand walk. So still pretty low on gymnastics overall, but I think event 7 clears that up across the board. So we'll get to that in a minute. So let's see what the numbers are down the line. So it's the same through 45, just a lower calorie. I think this is the perfect adjustment, because the athlete here, for at least on the female side, is going to get a lot less calories. And so I like 65 here. I like the adjustment. I think these adjustments look really good. 75 and 15. And then I don't actually know what this means. I don't know what chest to bar. Oh, pull up. I don't know what this means here. Can they do pull-ups instead? I'm not sure what this is saying, and it didn't say on the thing. I actually have no idea. Yeah, for sure. We're gonna try and do this. So just to pause on my bit, even though my co-hosts don't know shit about masters, I do. This is who we coach. This is what WODprep does. Okay, so when master stuff comes out, we're gonna talk about it, and we'll be live throughout the week next week. I'll be coaching in person from Thursday through Sunday, but we'll still do our morning stuff, and we'll try and do something every day with my coaches. I have 3 coaches with me, and then we'll try maybe get an athlete or 2 on throughout the week. So stay tuned for that. All right. I think this looks good. I think 20 and then 15s for 50 to 59. And then 10s. Yeah, I think this is good. This might be a little dense for the 60 to 64. I think there's probably a bigger range here. This is interesting. So we have 80 and 150, and then there's only 10. There's a bigger fall off. Actually, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, this is probably right. So the power expression fall off from males to females is just way more drastic as a female. So 55, while a lot of these athletes and even females will probably finish 55 in one go in the lower age groups, it's probably very good for the lower athletes. I have a 65 that's been a multiple time games athlete, and we do bike work, and this would actually fit her really, really well to finish just under the time cap. So maybe this double under is maybe a smidge too small. But I think the 65s are still in that new, like not new CrossFitter, but like our real OG CrossFitters haven't rolled into the 65s yet. They're getting there though. They're almost there. So in a couple more years, we'll start to see what we thought was our 55 athletes in the 65, but we're not quite there yet. So I think it looks good. Do we think anyone finishes this in 2 rounds? For basically in 5 minutes? Probably. I think it's really, really close. That someone's in sub 2 rounds for sure. Maybe even way faster, right? I say that, and then there's like 35s that'll hold like 80 RPMs on the bike. So yeah, I don't think anyone finishes this in 1 round, but I do think a lot of people finish this in a quick 2, like a really short 2. Yeah, hopefully there's not anyone at the CrossFit Games that is in jail, right? As far as getting stuck. But who knows? We'll see. All right. So, my favorite CrossFit workout of all time is the standard, which is event 7. 30 clean and jerks, 30 ring muscle ups, 30 snatches. My only caveat to this, so I've loved everything so far about this, okay? Except the sandbag adjustment in workout 2, okay? And I think the older athletes should have done workout 3. All right? I think everything else has been really spot on. I think it looks good. They worked really hard to make all the adjustments. I think it's easy to make a really balanced test, to be honest. If you're looking at it, it's hard to make fun tests, and I think they've done a decent job there. Visually appealing, if we just think about it. So I'm assuming the bar rolls down the floor here. This might not be super visually appealing because you might not know kind of like where they are in which round. If there's 2 bars here, there probably isn't. So again, you know, it's hard to tell where they are. Snatch speed ladder, obviously very visually appealing. The down and back, again, this is like, it'll look good moving on the floor, but it's hard to tell on the wall ball race. Event 6, I love the workout, but again, very hard to be visually appealing. Because you don't know where they're on the bike. So unless they have some way to show how many calories they've done, it's going to be really hard to see, but it's a great workout, right? So, so those are usually general things that I like to think about. And so the balance is great. The visual appealing is moderate. But again, there's probably some very strict limitations. Now, clean and jerk, the standard clean and jerk, ring muscle up, snatch, amazing. I think this is like the most encompassing CrossFit work, competitive CrossFit workout there is. I think Fran is like our heart and soul and foundation. I think Murph is our like our persona to the world. And then I think the standard is the definition of our competitive spirit, personally. And I think those are like our three most defining tests. And I think this is, and I think it needs to get way more love in the CrossFit world, because it's such an amazing test. I love every bit of it. I think they should do it exactly as it's written. 55 to 59 and 55 plus is not doing it. So how do we feel about that? I don't know. It's tough, right? If we look at the totality of the week, the gymnastics at this point is probably extremely light for 60 and 69 or 65 because they didn't handstand walk. Okay. They've only done, and then I think they might only be doing pull-ups. So it might be a little bit light for our 60 and 65-year-old athletes that are gymnastics specialists, because there's I don't know if they, I know there's bar muscle ups at the end, and I think everyone does a bar muscle up, so we'll get to that point. But so far, I think we're a little light on gymnastics for our older age groups, but for our younger age groups, I think we're really, really on point. This alone with the rope climbs sets it apart, right? So 8 minutes is the world record, roughly. Matt and Ricky are right there. No one gets to that point. I think there's definitely some close to 9s. We have some games athletes. I don't know if Will Morad pulled out post the games. So we're not going to go into who's going to do well. Maybe we'll go into like a who's going to do who's going to do well closer to it. But it's really hard, right? Like we could probably do 35s and 40s, but after that, it's really challenging. I know my athletes are going to do well. We have 4, we're representing 4. I think it's good. I think 25 for 45 and 50 is probably the right play. 50 probably should be 20. I'm just being honest. Like if they want them to finish under the time cap, that's a really short time cap. It should probably be 20, 20, 20. To be fair, I don't think this is probably the right adjustment. We'll see, right? I don't know. 25 is a lot of fucking muscle ups for a 50-year-old male and female. It just is, right? They're going to be doing 3s, maybe 2s, right? Especially after 20, 25 clean and jerks. So they kept the weight the same, which I appreciate. And I think that's good for the heart of the workout. And so I think that I love them keeping the weight the same, but I think this should probably have been 20s personally. All right. We have some comments. hip and steel, clean and jerks. Yeah, I mean, he's got special elbows. They don't have to jerk it, right? It is a clean to overhead. That's what the standard is, right? They just call it a clean and jerk in general. Same thing with Grace, right? Grace is just clean and shoulder to overhead. CrossFit, are we judging 55s on 2008 CrossFit 55ers? Those people that were around 35 then are probably pretty fit. I agree 100%, right? But I coach a lot of them, right? I'm still in the space, okay? Like this is where we live the most. And so I still don't think that if we're trying to get an identical stimulus, the stimulus is the same for these groups right here, especially females. The female drop off right here is pretty drastic. The male drop off, not as much. But I think we see very few people finish this in the 50 to 54, if any, personally. It's a tough one, right? This is a very hard scaling when we're scaling gymnastics for different age groups. But yes, at one point, like no one in CrossFit would have finished this, right? In 2008 or even 2013, it would have been a struggle for all male or female athletes to finish this workout that were at the CrossFit Games, right? And so it has definitely improved. I just don't know if it's improved that much for here, but we'll find out, right? It's still a standardized between the age, right? Obviously all of females and males are doing the same thing, and that's all that matters, right? So we're still going to get a balanced score. I just don't know if it's the same for 45 and 49. I love the test. I love everything about it. I think it's the best test in CrossFit to encompass everything that we do. I love it. All right, on to the next. Workout 8 rounds for time. 8 bar facing burpees, 8 toes to bar, and 1 clean. I think this clean has to be a squat clean. I feel like I read that. If it doesn't, it's kind of moot. Like kind of. It doesn't say it on there. Maybe not. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Think it needs to be a squat clean? I think it should be. I feel like we really haven't squatted. I know we're going to do a front squat test there. Oops, zoom out. Overhead squats. I guess we've squatted a decent amount. Step overs, a lot of running. Bike, man. Lunging. Dumbbell thruster. Yeah, I guess it's probably not a squat if we're looking at the balance of test to test. And so let's see what the adjustment is for all the age groups. This is going to be really fast. It's a 10-minute time. It's an 8-minute time cap. So they're going to try and EMOM. They're going to hope that they EMOM this, which they will. So it's not a squat clean. 8 bar facing burpees takes 20 seconds for the sprint. 8 toes to bar takes 14 seconds for a sprint. 45 seconds around. A minute 30, 6 minutes. I think someone's around that 6:15 to 6:30 range, maybe even around that 6-minute piece. This is going to be really fast, and this is going to be a sprint from start to finish. No real fatigue here or compounding patterns, right? And so I think everyone's just going to go full send. I think the weights look good across the board. They're just a little bit heavy for them to take half a breath before they grab it. But other than that, it's a sprint, right? It's a sprint from start to finish. So I really like it, but I think sub 6 is definitely in the cards. And another good balanced workout. Do we see some grip fatigue? Maybe. This is just CrossFit, right? There really isn't anything compounding or interfering, right? So like the bar facing burpee won't interfere the toes to bar won't interfere the clean. Maybe a little bit on grip, but it's just one. Maybe the legs are a little tired, hip flexors, but you're not squatting. So it's a speed demon for sure. Like this is going to be a full send. This is going to be as painful as event 6 from a intensity perspective. Everything else to this point, there's a little bit of strategy, maybe not event 2 if you're really good at rope climbs. And I guess event 3, I don't know. The theme is definitely there of they're trying to really promote intensity and speed and capacity across the board. Way better than the games. Yeah, I think there's, man, I mean, everyone would say semifinals was better than the games too. And so I think it's very, I don't know if it's hard to, it's like comparing apples and oranges, right? Like we want to create a different show. There's also a lot of limitations, post whatever from the games. There's a different person programming them. Like there's nothing flashy about any of this, right? So we could watch these and they could be boring to watch, right? Because there should be some sort of like visual to see who's going where and all that kind of stuff. Um, I think it's good programming across the board. Um, so it's tough. Certain groups in the greater fitness community will never respect you if you call it a clean to overhead, a clean and jerk. Fine with me. I'm not making any demands on removing the workout namer. Haha. um, um, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I feel like this is, I don't know. That's like someone fucking complained about the way they wrote this workout. Like they were like, I can't believe you write workouts like this because they fucking suck Hiller's dick. And they're like, he complained about the way they write a workout, so now I gotta complain, right? And so now it doesn't matter, right? Who cares? They've written workouts like that forever, right? Just like they've said clean and jerk, in this clean shoulder to overhead. It just sounds more smooth, right? Um, whoops. But we get a little bit of everything other than a long slog. I agree. Yeah, I think it's great. I like semifinals is fun, right? This is the semifinal field, just 10 workouts. I don't know if we've ever had 10 workouts at the semifinals. That's a lot. But it's going to be great. I think they look really good and they're well balanced. Uh, and so, yeah, fast workout, right? Definitely the theme across the board is intensity. There's not a lot of like bottlenecks with any of these workouts. I don't know. I'm trying to look through. Do we see any bottlenecks? Like where just like muscular endurance is just going to stop them in their tracks? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they've designed this intentionally or not intentionally to just be, there's obviously movements that will interfere a little bit, but there's no one's going to be standing around outside of the standard. I think that's the only one where we're going to see people just kind of like taking their time and trying to figure out how they're going to get punched in the face and keep moving, which is cool, right? Like that's very traditional CrossFit. And so when we're testing our best in the world, maybe that's not okay to do that the whole time, right? Maybe you need that time. You need those bottlenecks, right? And so people keep asking if Boz has influence here. And the only reason I say no is because there is no bottlenecks and that's his thing, right? So, but you know what there isn't? There's not a, there is a double under, but there's not a heavy rope. So that means that most likely Legends didn't have full say because they love a good Hades rope or drag rope or Chronos rope or some shit all the time. I'm almost sad they're not there because I feel like I pegged that. Okay. I think it's good programming across the board. Like I said, I think 60 to 64 might be 60 and 65 might be a little low on gymnastics, but they usually are. But they've just been bit in the ass so many times at the CrossFit Games from most people not being able to do any of it and females just standing around. So maybe they could have done like a more of a different scale, like a male scale and a female scale. But who knows? It's tough. It's tough to make that many adjustments across however many heats they have. I will actually watch now. Standard, I think someone's going to be, we have games athletes in the 35 to 39. So I think in the mid nines is where we're going to see the best standard score. What days do I think will be most interesting to watch? Probably Saturday. Sunday is going to be terrible. It's only one event. It's only event 10. If you can't go, if you want to, like, I don't like having one event on the day and there's going to be cuts. So there's only going to be one heat per age group, which I'm okay with cuts. I don't like it just for the day. Right. So they for sure did that from a scheduling thing. And just having one event, like, why not just finish it on Saturday and let everyone go out and have a good time? You know what I mean? Corbin Dow. What a great, is your name actually Corbin Dow? Corbin Dow. If anyone doesn't know, The Fifth Element is such a great movie. Is your name actually Corbin Dallas? If it is, that's awesome. But I would never be able to speak to you as like a normal human. I would always like Corbin Dallas. Like I just couldn't. I wouldn't be able to help myself. All right. Answer your question. Where were we at? What days? Probably Thursday, Friday, to be honest. Oh, man, I don't know. It's tough. They're all really well balanced, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. Sunday's out for sure. There's 4 days. There's four days, by the way. Whoever asked this, Billy. Event 1, event 2, event 3, all good ones to watch. Obviously Friday and Saturday for sure. The squat is going to be heated. Event 8 is going to be fast. Maybe not the most exciting, but event 7 will be the most exciting of the weekend, in my opinion. The snatch ladder. So that's on Friday. That echo bike. The echo bike will only be good to watch if you know who is in the lead. So that could be exceptionally boring to watch, or it could be really exciting. So I would say Thursday and Saturday. That's my guess. I'm going with that. I'm holding strong. Even though you missed the snatch speed ladder. Oh, I don't know. I give up. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Not Sunday. That's my only answer. Okay. So we did event 8. The adjustments, probably didn't need to adjust for this. 7s, 145, 205, 6s, and a lighter load. I like that. The goal is to go unbroken. I think most of our athletes are unbroken. This is going to be probably the hardest for 65s. It's not that much less work, and that's a pretty barbell for our 65 females and males. Maybe not males, but that is heavy for our females. So, all right. Event 9 is a 1-arm front squat. I'm not going to pull it up. It's a front squat for everyone, and everyone does it. Oh, sorry. The standard is only done. So 55 and 59 doesn't do it. I think we talked about that. Front squat, per usual, 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a really low amount of time. I hope they can load the bar beforehand. If they can't, it's still 3 or 4 attempts. I'd like to see them load the bar beforehand, just so we can fully see and just take away the bar loading aspect of it in a 5-minute window. But who knows? I don't know what the time between heats are. So what is that? 9. It looks like we might have like 3 minutes, but they're going to have to take it all the way down to nothing. So I don't know. I love a squat. I like an overhead squat better personally. I think the overhead squat should be tested from a strength perspective. I think it's the best global strength test over a front squat personally. If we're trying to continue to test for a well-rounded athlete personally. But I like it better than a back squat. 1-arm front squats are fun to watch. And it's still obviously a great test. So, we do have a decent amount of squat as we kind of look in here. But let's see. Thruster, squat, squats. So 3 workouts, 4 workouts, 4 of 6, or 4 of 10. So it's pretty good. Pretty high volume here. Another 150, 50. So yeah, pretty decent. All right, last one. 8, 12, 16, single arm dumbbell thruster and bar muscle up. Let's see what the adjustments are. I think the single arm dumbbell thruster is such a wacky movement. I don't know. It's just always, why not just do a thruster here, right? At 70s. Whoops, undo. Can I undo that? Undo. All right. Okay. It's the same. Oh, this is why they did it. So they could drop the dumbbell weight. So 8, 12, 16. I'm assuming you can go all on one arm. It's going to be fast. It'll be unbroken. And the bar muscle ups at the very end of that are going to be really, really, really challenging. 16 to finish that is really spicy. So I think it's a good I mean, it's 36 bar muscle ups all the way through 54. They probably should have dropped the bar muscle up here. Like, even if it was just like 8, 12, 14, or like 8, 10, 12, I think here might be a little bit of a reach for our athletes, but I think overall it looks really good. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the single arm dumbbell thruster. There is some strategy there. Do you switch arms? Do you not? You for sure don't, by the way. You just kind of have to choose your strong arm and you take it for 8, and then maybe like 12 and 6, or like you do strong arm for 8, weak arm for 12, and then strong arm for 16, I don't think you have to switch. I don't know. It's just a wonky movement. It's just kind of awkward. You're like really leaning. It's really hard to get to depth a lot of the time. So, not my favorite. Maybe like a dual dumbbell snatch, I think would have been really nice here. I guess we deadlifted though. Like maybe they're worried about some hinge volume if they're trying to look at balance. Hinging here, but not really. That's not a lot. Squatting, snatching a little hinge, not really. I don't know. I think a dual dumbbell snatch might have fit a little bit better there, but maybe they didn't want to get the grip fatigue. I don't know, just trying to kind of like snuff it out in my head of like why they would choose what they chose. But yeah, I think it looks good. This is interesting. I've never seen this adjustment. I do this for athletes though. I do 60 and 40. I don't do 60 and 35. That's kind of why they would give a 45-year-old and a 65-year-old the same dumbbell. And again, this is the dumbbells that they have, right? So this is for sure an equipment limitation factor that plays a role. But why would they give them 65, 35, and 50 when they had the dumbbell lunge was, I don't know. There's a miss. There's an adjustment miss here. I do love bar muscle ups for all athletes here. And for 65 and 69, I think that does, this will basically, like, the winners will win, right? Like the gymnastics girls will win by far. This is a gymnastics workout for everybody, but mainly for the older age groups. This is a lot. 30 for 55 is a good chunk. 18 for 60 and 65 is a good chunk too. I've coached multiple females at the 60 and 65, and none of them were able to do bar muscle ups, and they were podium athletes. So this is a lot, and this will be a huge separator, but it will only separate the top half of the heats because there's only one heat. So there's a cut. There's a 50% cut going into this day. But I think this is unbroken for our younger age group, males and females. 8, 12, 16 for here is pretty spicy. Again, I think it could have been probably 8, 12, 16 for 45, and then maybe like 8, 10, 12, or like 8, 12, 14, something like that for our, or 10, 12, 14. No, that wouldn't have been the same. 8, 10, 12, which would have been the same as this. I don't know. They could have figured something out. There could have been a diverging gap here on this one. Since they did a gap on the standard, which was 25, right? So why give the same gymnastics on this workout and not the same on the standard? I don't know. Anyways, it's hard, right? It's a very challenging thing, but I think they did a really, really good job. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's look at it as a whole, huh? Because I think it's trying to get it there. All right, does that look good? Okay, so long, medium, short. We have 10 workouts. If we assume 8 to 12 is medium, everything over 12 is long, anything under 8 is short, right? So we'll just say 12 minutes equals probably medium. So we only have 2 workouts that are long, which I think is a pretty good, pretty decent bit. We have event 3, 4, 9 that are short, and then everything else is medium, which I love. I think that's a really good balance. I love the medium time frame. I think is where we want to live. We don't want too many short. We don't want too many long. And again, they're limited inside of an arena or inside of a convention center on how long they can go because they only have so many lanes. Okay. Event 1, we have posterior chain endurance and run endurance aerobic, very aerobic workout with some muscular endurance from the hamstring. Event 2, a lot of grip and pulling fatigue, gymnastics complexity or gymnastics challenge for the handstand walk, which isn't a primary component there. It's for sure pretty much a rope climb workout at all age groups. So whoever ropes climbs the fastest wins there with a little bit of pre-fatigue, right? So the bag could be heavy for some, right, if they can't touch and go it. And I don't know what the standards are, if they have to like to the shoulder, release the hand, etc. So there's a little bit of strategy there. Event 3, high volume knee flexion or moderate volume knee flexion, very, very fast. Probably not very, it's a end of the day type of workout, which I like, but maybe not like that early in the week. I think that many overhead squats at that fast is going to be very challenging to judge. So I think we're going to see a lot of judging mishaps at this one. But knee flexion, quad fatigue, muscular endurance to basically keep going. There's no point. You can't rest anywhere. Assuming the dumbbell walking lunges is at the side, no grip fatigue, the dumbbell weight is irrelevant. You know, how fast you lunge is important, but a lot of judging limitations at this. Snatch speed ladder, I don't know if it's squat. Even if it was, I think the same athletes are going to win. I do think it's a little light overall, but so I don't know if it's going to really test for the strongest athletes. But again, I think it does its job, and it will snuff out weak athletes and strong athletes. Event 5 is like our kind of our first true kind of like chippery sort of workout, even though it's a down and back. With the theoretically the wall balls make it a down and back. A lot of squat volume, a lot of knee flexion again. So we have running, we have overhead squats, and then we have step ups and wall balls. So we have 3 of 6 of 5 workouts that have a priority of knee flexion, maybe leaning a little bit that way. Then we have a dumbbell thruster, we have a front squat. So we have a lot of knee flexion, and that's probably like our biggest component. We didn't have any knee flexion in the CrossFit games, the main CrossFit games, but it doesn't seem to be overdone because the single arm dumbbell thruster is probably pretty relevant from a knee flexion stimulus. I don't think it makes a big difference here. That's why I think they could have chose another movement pattern. But dumbbell step overs are pretty challenging. There's going to be some grip fatigue into the dumbbell, a lot of shoulder fatigue, a lot of knee flexion, a lot of quad fatigue, a lot of lower extremity fatigue. But I don't know how to quantify this. So probably a long time frame, probably over 12 minutes for most people. But I do think we'll see like a sub 10 somewhere. Someone's going to really cook through this and go unbroken on the wall balls. But this is just a capacity workout, right? So it's extremely light, and they want everyone to move through it really, really fast. So we won't see a lot of hold ups. Same thing pretty much leading up all the way to this. The weights are designed for people to move unbroken and as fast as possible, which is good. I like it. I think that makes it very entertaining to watch. Larry, I just saw this. How many 50 go over 400? Oh man, I don't know. We can find that out. If you look back, I'm not going to look at it right now just because I want to finish this. I got to get off before 5. Okay, event 6, power endurance, work rest or stop gait, however you guys call it. Interval type bit, very kind of like 3-3-2-2 or 3-2-1 or 2-2-3-3. But it decreases, right? So this is what's pretty interesting. They're trying to reward you to try and finish as fast as possible. When we've seen this in the CrossFit games, it's short to long because everyone's going to slow down. And so a lot of people are going to get pinched right here and not be able to make it much further. Kind of like what CrossFat said. But the double unders and the chest to bars are probably a moot point for the majority of the athletes there. It's just a bike workout, which I'm all for. Power endurance, who can really rip it, and who can rest for a minute and then repeat it again. So the standard, I think it's the most balanced workout of the weekend as far as time frame, barbell cycling, strength, gymnastics. I love it. I love everything about it. I think this one is maybe our, I don't know. kind of like just like our filler workout, right? This is just, again, very similar to event 5 in the sense that it's just testing capacity, right? I think here there's probably some more muscular endurance in the legs and the arms to just kind of move through this, but there really isn't any muscular endurance components here, right? This is just testing who's got the lungs to hang on with a smidge of strength to pull the barbell without hesitating. One arm front squats are pure max strength tests, and then a gymnastics capacity muscular endurance test as well here. This is there's going to be a huge pressing component on the bar muscle up in the thruster that I think people are going to get punched in the face with about 6 bar muscle ups in the set of 12. So, okay. Any questions, any comments, anything you guys want to talk on real quick? I'll stay on just for maybe a little bit if no one asks anything. I wish I would have had someone on here to go back and forth with, but I hope it was educational, at least a little bit, in how I view some workouts and how I kind of assess things. I'll have some of my athletes work through bits and pieces of this over the next few days, but nothing in full. And yeah, so all right. No one's coming in. Nothing's coming in. Thanks you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoy the afternoon. We'll be doing some masters content for the next 9 days. So stay tuned. Maybe we're the only ones, maybe not. But me and my coaches will be there. Again, we're coaching 4 athletes. I'll shout them out. Kevin Schutz, 35-39 male. Jen McKesh, 45-49 female. Rose Wall, 55-59 female. And Lynn Watt, 60-64 female. All of our athletes have a very good chance to be high on the leaderboard, so make sure you guys check it out. If you guys have any questions or you guys want us to do anything, leave a comment in the comments below. Like and subscribe. I know we have a lot of subscribers, but none of that's to the podcast, by the way. That's all to the other YouTube channel. We just happen to use the platform. Yeah, we'd love for you guys to be members of us. We want to keep doing this. And yeah, thanks for joining. Enjoy your Thursday. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 6:30 Central. And we're going to talk coffee and conversations. And we'll be just hanging out, talking about the week and talking about the week to come. I'll see you guys then. Adios.